Let's settle the classic UK airline debate. Both British Airways and Virgin Atlantic have a lot of fans, but who really comes out on top? Let's pit them head to head in key categories: strength of their points, where they fly, what the cabins are like, what the onboard experience is like, and the airport perks. By the end, you'll know which carrier wins in each category and who is worthy of your hard-earned points. Let's start off with points and loyalty programs. Virgin Flying Club points are generally worth way more than Avios. In fact, in my last video, I shared how I got a one-way flight, premium economy, from JFK to London Heathrow for 10,500 points, plus £80. I want to be clear, British Airways could absolutely never. You're looking at a minimum of 60,000 Avios and £150 for the same flight with British Airways because the fuel surcharges for BA are much higher. The caveat here is that Virgin switched to dynamic pricing in late 2024, which means that some amazing deals can vanish overnight and that there is no limit really on the amount of points that you can pay for a redemption because all the seats are available for redemption. I have seen flights be hundreds of thousands of points, sometimes 500,000 points for a one-way business class seat. Do you know how many business class seats you can get for 500,000 points? So while Virgin can offer amazing deals during periods of low demand, in peak season, it's very peak. BA, on the other hand, uses a classic, more traditional pricing chart, which is just off-peak and peak, so it's a lot more predictable. Both programs tap into rewards with major bank players, American Express being the obvious one, where not only Virgin Atlantic, but also British Airways with Avios converts at a 1 to 1 point ratio. That is where the equality ends, because beyond that, Avios is the clear winner. There are so many bank cards in the UK and schemes that allow you to earn Avios directly to British Airways. You have the British Airways American Express cards, the Barclays card Avios, HSBC World Elite MasterCard, Rev Points. I could go on. The list is not endless, but way more endless than Virgin's, which of course is confined to just American Express and the 2 rewards cards that Virgin Atlantic offers. And that's just on the credit card side. I mentioned Rev Points, but with Barclays Premier account, you can also earn Avios and create a multiplier effect paired up with other Barclays products. Both airlines offer companion vouchers through their respective cards, which are like gold dust in the aviation industry. However, when it comes to applying those points and applying those companion vouchers, even though both airlines are bound by the UK air passenger duty on flights, Virgin has recently received a lot of praise for how it has been able to significantly reduce the cost for those charges on reward flights. BA, on the other hand, nah. Virgin also doesn't charge for advanced seat selection, only on the most basic of fares, whereas BA pretty much does across the board. Overall, Virgin's cash to points tax drag is significantly better. Bottom line, Virgin miles are more valuable and often book much cheaper rewards versus British Airways, who, although they have an abundance of plans for Avios points available, the redemptions are often more expensive and you need way more points. So Virgin has to win this category. Let's talk about the destinations and the network alliance partners of both of these major players in the UK travel industry. BA has over 200 destinations covering 79 countries and every inhabited continent on Earth. That's not a joke. Virgin, on the other hand, is a niche transatlantic specialist. It is no secret that Virgin excels in flights to the US and the Caribbean, and its own website states that it travels to 28 destinations across 5 continents, not including its codeshare partners, which is far short of what we've just seen for British Airways. BA's hubs of London Gatwick and London Heathrow give it major access to Europe, Asia, North and South America, and Africa. What I will say though, is that the picture is a lot less bad if you look at Virgin's partner network. Though BA is a founding member of the oneworld alliance, since Virgin joined SkyTeam in 2023, the network has expanded extensively, giving access to airlines like Delta, KLM, Air France, and many more. This includes a pretty extensive network in Asia, making the gap a lot smaller. And if you saw my last video, there are some incredible deals to be had on airlines in Asia. I'm talking 7,000 points and £15, kind of good. But because this partnership only came recently, the integration just isn't as strong as BA and its oneworld partners. The points are not integrated as well, and obviously the destinations, though vast, are just simply not as vast as the oneworld group, especially with connecting hubs like Qatar in the Middle East, which basically lets you fly anywhere in the world. And the points that you can earn with your loyalty status with BA extend to many of the oneworld partners around the world: American Airlines, Cathay Pacific, Qantas, to name a few. With all that being said, if you're outside of London, BA's coverage is pretty poor. Yes, there are some flights from Scotland, but that pretty much is it, and most of them are internal. If you look a bit further afield though, Manchester is doing some big things with Virgin Atlantic, and I only see them getting bigger. Still, when it comes to destinations, BA just can't be beat. An area where they can be beat though is YouTube subscribers. I'm trying to overtake BA on YouTube by 2027, so please subscribe to make my dream come true. Now, if we start looking at the fleet and cabin experience between these two airlines, that's where it becomes interesting. British Airways and Virgin Atlantic both offer lie flat business class seats, and both have versions of those business class seats that are currently being phased out. Virgin Atlantic, of course, with the unique diagonal seats that are common on the 787, and British Airways, of course, with the yin-yang version, Club World, which should have been phased out by now, but has hit significant delays. Here's the thing though, Virgin has two newer versions of its business class. One from 2019, which is common on the A350-1000, and one that is on the Airbus A330-900 Neos. That seat is unreal. 1-2-1 suites with direct aisle access for all. Bright, airy, spacious, and more than enough privacy. I'm not saying that BA Club Suites isn't a great seat, I'm just saying this one's better. In fact, you could argue that Virgin's 2019 seat is a closer match to BA's Club Suites than the newer one. The only thing is, it obviously lacks the Club Suites privacy door, which is a great touch, but when I'm sleeping I don't really care. It's subjective, but I find Virgin's cabins to be more fun, more calming, and more stylish. BA has been making some improvements to the economy seats, the premium economy seats, changing them for mood lighting and wider seats, but the rollout is uneven, and some of the older seats in economy and premium economy are just not in the same league as Virgin. I have consistently found Virgin Atlantic to be way better maintained when it comes to any kind of cabin of seat, and with the average age of Virgin's fleet being half that of British Airways, I don't see that changing anytime soon. Let me know in the comments what you think. Bottom line though, Virgin wins this category cleanly for me, and it's not even close. Now let's talk about the thing that I love the most, and which is probably the most controversial: the food. In premium cabins, both serve multi-course selections of food and drinks. However, Virgin's food is consistently cited as being way more creative and inspiring, and speaking from experience, that is wholly true. If the airplane engine salt and pepper shakers won't do it for you, maybe a vast array of international cuisine will, like teriyaki chicken, curried cauliflower soup, or free ice cream. One of the best meals I've ever had in the skies was in a Virgin Atlantic economy seat. Let that sink in. Now, apart from the curries, which are excellent, I find BA's food to be subpar, regardless of the cabin, and I know I'm not alone. Comfort food doesn't have to mean uninspired. Now, I know this isn't related to food, but I just wanted to add this on with an asterisk. BA only offers Wi-Fi if you're flying in first class, the most expensive class in the skies. You're talking comparisons with Etihad, the Residence, Singapore Airlines, where they've got the double bed, which you can connect in the middle and have two separate suites. Virgin Atlantic, if you're flying upper class, it's free Wi-Fi. Club Suites, Club World, no free Wi-Fi. I think that's a madness. How can you pay for a ticket that is supposed to be £2,500 each way and then pay an extra £25 for Wi-Fi? In terms of service, both experiences are completely different. Virgin prides itself on being engaging, high energy, free-spirited. British Airways, on the other hand, is professional, efficient. For me, it's subjective. It really depends on what experience you want, or what day you're flying, or what occasion you're flying for. Doesn't really matter, but whichever you fly with, you are going to feel like royalty. Anyway, I promise this video isn't going to be a whitewash, but Virgin wins again. What about the airport experience though? This is an area where those alliances we spoke about earlier really matter. Both airlines have extensive networks that offer access to over 700 lounges globally. This, of course, if you're flying in a premium cabin or if you have status with those airlines, which we'll get to next. But if we focus on home turf for a second, Virgin's Terminal 3 flagship Clubhouse lounge is world-renowned. Reviewers describe it as modern, swanky, exciting, with amenities that you won't find in most airport lounges around the world. A full bar, a deli, made to order food served directly to your seat, showers, relaxation pods, and an open air terrace at Heathrow, Terminal 3. I'm fairly certain I've also seen a gym with pelotons in there as well. It's pretty unanimous across the miles and point space. This is seen as one of the greatest lounges in the world, but it's just the one. Though Virgin has a sprinkling of other lounges across the UK and the world, it is no match for BA's extensive UK and global network. Let's talk about Heathrow alone. At Heathrow Terminal 5, British Airways has 3 lounges: the North Galleries, South Galleries, and the B Gate lounges. Pro tip: always go to the B Gate lounges. They're just better, and they are way less busy, especially during peak transatlantic travel periods. The food is buffet style with a small bar, and yes, it feels a little bit corporate, and yes, maybe it's not as beautiful as some lounges that you might see. However, it is more than enough, and some major improvements have been made over the last few years. Of course, the first class lounge, aka Concord Room, which is obviously reserved for first class travelers, is superior with its cigar lounge and a la carte dining. And yes, there are other airlines who have done the corporate styling in a much better way. If you look at American Airlines and some of their lounges across North America, I'll call out the Miami Airport Lounge. Phenomenal. Nice design, incredible food. British Airways could learn a lot. However, I can't overlook the fact that there is so much choice when it comes to airport lounges in the UK for British Airways. I know it doesn't sound like it, but if I'm being real, British Airways has to win this category, mainly down to the extensive list of lounges represented in the UK and the heavy hitters sitting in the oneworld alliance, like Cathay Pacific, American Airlines, Qatar, Qantas. Some of those lounges are phenomenal. But it was close, earning tier points and elite status. Putting it simply, Virgin Atlantic Flying Club status is much easier to attain. You only need 400 tier points for silver and 1,000 for gold. British Airways, on the other hand, is much steeper. 7,500 tier points for silver and an eye-watering 20,000 for gold. I don't know who makes these decisions. As a comparison, 7,500 BA tier points may require around 8 return premium economy flights. I don't know who's doing that in a year, but if you are, this channel is not advanced enough for you. On the other hand, with Virgin Atlantic, just a few return premium economy flights could get you there. In practical terms, many travelers can cruise into Virgin Atlantic's gold tier status just with a few business class flights here, a couple of premium economy flights there, whatever it might be. For British Airways, it is a full-time corporate grind with frequent business flights. Now, when it comes to the actual benefits that you get for these tiers, there are numerous, and I will put them on the screen. However, I must point out that the ease of earning these tier statuses through Virgin Atlantic far outweighs the potentially superior benefits for British Airways tiers. So who wins? British Airways boasts a vast network and long heritage. It's hard to beat BA when it comes to the destinations and the affiliate partners. However, in almost every other category, Virgin Atlantic wins. Virgin's points are worth more, its cabins and service feel more modern and fun, and its airport lounges are clearly more stylish. There just aren't as many of them. If Virgin flies where you want to go, it seems like a pretty obvious choice. But let me know in the comments what you think. If you like this one, please subscribe. As always, I'm Jordan, this is Miles Ahead, and I appreciate you watching. Safe.